Hey guys, this is Blake here. I'm going to be talking about Final Destination 5. Now, first off, just to talk about the franchise a little bit, the first film wasn't great, but it was good. It had some interesting characters based on memory. And keep in mind, I haven't seen most of these films since they came out. It had interesting characters, good suspense, a very good premise, and I thought it handled the premise pretty decently. It's one of those films that I felt its main problem was just that it wasn't great. I felt it could have been scarier, it could have been more remarkable, but as it was, I still thought it was a good movie. It did not need a sequel, though. So I had low expectations when I went in to see Final Destination 2. Much to my surprise, I didn't just like it. I think I like it more than the first film. It has this extremely dark sense of humor about it, really morbid, but I thought it was both funny yet incredibly intense at the same time. See, they took the story and they formatted it differently. That's one thing I actually kind of forgot until I was just thinking about it. Most of the other Final Destination movies have the exact same format, whereas this one has actually all the people teaming up pretty early on and trying to conquer death. So that was pretty different. It expands on the story a little bit. The characters, once again, I seem to remember, were pretty interesting. Probably not as interesting as the ones from the first movie, but close enough. And I thought the visual style was a nice contrast to the first film, because the first film was all about, night scenes, whereas this one takes place mostly in the day. Whereas the first film was more, slow burn suspense. This one was more, quick bursts of intensity. And I thought it was like, it's the perfect sequel for me, even though it wasn't a great movie either. It's sort of like how Aliens perfectly complements Alien, and Terminator 2 perfectly complements Terminator. Final Destination 2 did that for Final Destination. So now, by the third film, I was getting really excited. I couldn't wait to see it. And then it came out and it was just really mediocre. The film, which was actually directed by the same guy who did the first one, it's just a rehash of the first film. It's a dumbed-down version of the first film. The only time they try to add something to it, they have like this thing with the pictures, and it just rips off The Omen, I believe it was. I want to say it was The Omen. But it was just, I felt like I was watching the same thing, except, the premise just no longer was that novel. The one thing I did think that kept it from being crap was I thought the characters were pretty well done. If it wasn't that the characters were interesting, at least the actors played those characters well. I especially like the main chick, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I believe her name is. She's in the upcoming Thing prequel. I really liked her in that movie, and so I cared for what happened. So that kept the movie from being a complete bust for me. But then the fourth film came out. Now, I just want to say that I don't hate the fourth film. I like any movie that's going to be insanely over-the-top gory. And Final Destination 4, which was called The Final Destination because, it was supposed to be the last one. Gee, that's definitely a lie. But, it was stupid, but it was gory fun. And that's all I really ask for these types of movies. But at the same time, I felt, this franchise is already so dead in the water. If you compare it to, let's say, the Saw franchise. The Saw franchise should have ended by 3, but they kept things fresh enough to where they made some pretty passable movies past that. But with the Final Destination, I felt like they could take it farther. It's like those Saw films, at least you could argue that they should have ended after 3. That was when the story really ended. And after that was just going off of fumes. The Final Destination films, you can go so much farther with. You can expand the story so much. And this Final Destination 4 did not do that at all. It was a dumbed-down... It wasn't even a dumbed-down version of the first film. It was a dumbed-down version of Final Destination 3, which was a dumbed-down version of the first film. And it was directed by the guy who did the second film. And I think he was trying to do that same morbid, dark humor, more about the insane death sequences. But it just didn't work. The characters were so bland that they weren't even really characters. They were props. They were just there to die. Even the main characters were just there to die. I don't think I've ever seen a movie take so much glee in killing off its main characters. When the people died in the previous movies, the main characters, at least, their deaths were horrifying. You weren't cheering, or at least that was the intent. Whereas this one, they have them die in these insanely stupid, I don't even remember what it was, some sort of CGI graphic thing. and they had like this awesome music, and you're supposed to be like, oh, that was awesome. But what movie wants you to root for your main characters to die? That's just stupid. And so that was definitely a misstep. But if you like stupid gore movies like me, it was passable, I guess. So the fifth one comes out, and people are actually kind of liking it. I haven't read most of the reviews because I just checked on Roger Ebert's website just to see what rating he gave it if you watched it. He didn't just have a spoiler as a picture. He fucking spoils the ending in the paragraph where he describes the review real briefly. So I didn't even want to read his. Fuck, that pissed me off so much I was too afraid to read most of the other reviews. But, the general consensus is that it was a return to form to the first movie. Fleshes out its characters, whatever. They're lying. I don't even know why anybody would think that. Let's just start off with the characters. Once again, they're very bland. Slightly more interesting than the last film, which I can't even remember what the characters were and how they acted. The only interesting character in the fourth film was the black guy. And the only interesting character in this one is also the black guy. I wonder if they're doing that intentionally, because in horror films, the token black guy is usually just a complete stereotype, whereas the Final Destination movies, they're the most developed people. But, so I cared for that guy, but nobody else. The only attempts at fleshing these people out was this real heavy-handed soap opera-esque love story between the two main characters. It asks us to care about their relationship, even though she dumps him in the first scene of the movie. And she does it in a complete bitch way, too. So I obviously can't care for her, and I can't care for the main guy because he keeps trying to get back with her, even though I have absolutely no idea why these people love each other. I think a good love story, you need to see the foundations of that relationship. You need to understand why they care for each other. In this film, I didn't get any of that, Good-looking guy, good-looking girl, they like each other. So, any other attempts at fleshing them out, what else was there? Oh yeah, one guy cooks. Woo. Another girl has like these rubber band things that she plays with when she's nervous. That is the extent of fleshing these people out. So I didn't really give a damn about anybody. The format, once again, the same damn structure. It's just people have a vision, they escape death. Like the two main characters go from one person to one person, and they all die when they go there. There's some minor twists, but it's for the most part the exact same thing we've seen before. And so I don't really get why people are saying all this. Maybe it's just the ending, which I'll talk about, I guess, at the end of the review. But there was very little difference between this and the fourth film, except this one was slightly better because it at least tried a little bit more. They bring back Tony Todd, which is cool, and they have I like the whole thing where if you kill somebody, you could possibly get death off your back. But for the most part, just a minor inversion of the previous films. I will say this, the kills are still decent. I think the whole concept is getting tired. Like, I even thought with the fourth film, the whole setup to most of these kills, you'd see, like in this one, there's a fan, the nail comes down, and you're expecting, where's this going to go? I thought that was cool in all the other movies, but in this one, it seems like they're either running out of ideas or the whole concept is just getting tired. But the gore is still good. The special effects in the bridge collapse were amazing. That was a great scene right there. And what else was there? Oh yeah, the tone was really awkward too. It felt like it was trying to be both really depressing, like the first and third films with its execution of the kills, and then also wants to be real silly, like the second and fourth films. Like, there was this one scene where they're in a funeral, and it's at first really sad, but then it becomes kind of funny, so I'm not really sure what they were trying to get out of you there. And then there's this one character who gets killed in this real, in this so over-the-top death sequence that you had to have been like, oh, that was epic, man. But then you were supposed to feel bad for her afterwards, and it's so stupid. So I just don't know if I was supposed to be laughing at times, or if I was supposed to feel sad for these people. And they casted some comedy actors in some of these roles. Like, there's this one guy who plays the boss. I can't think of his name, but once you see him, you'll recognize him. No reason to be in this movie. And he was funny, but otherwise, it was just distracting. And there's even a worse case with this guy who looks just like Tom Cruise. And at one point, he's freaking out at the boss guy, and he's like, he jacks up the Tom Cruise mannerisms to such an extreme that I could not take that scene seriously. It was supposed to be edgy and intense, but I was trying hard not to laugh. But what else do we got? I think that's really it. I'm going to be talking about the ending a little bit, but that's going to have some spoilers, so if you don't want to watch that, I'd stop now. But if you want to read my written review, just check the link in my description. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the ending reveals that it is a prequel. It ends with the main characters thinking they escaped death, and they find themselves on the plane that explodes in the first film. I did not like this as much as a lot of people did, even though I kind of liked the idea, but it seemed like in the first film, when the main guy has the vision, it's a complete fluke. And through the next, at least the second movie, I don't know about the third and fourth so much, but it felt like Death was trying to wrap up loose ends because that was a mistake. So having this take place before them, and then it's implied that this has happened many times before, with one of Tony Todd's lines, that just, I thought, took away from that angle, which I preferred more. That, I think, is really all I have to say. It didn't really explain how come the girl died either. They keep making a point that he saves her in the vision, so she shouldn't die. But then when she dies with him on the plane, so why would she have been on that plane? Because she only was on the plane because of him, but if he was supposed to die, then how is she on that plane? The only thing I can guess, and this is what I would personally stress if they do continue to make these movies, whenever you cheat death, you're bound to get other people killed who weren't initially supposed to die then. I would play up that angle, so, but otherwise, it was kind of a plot hole. So that's it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.